Redeeming love begins by showing a young man named Michael Hasia, currently enjoying his job as a farmer and rancher in a rural area. Apart from doing his work in the fields, Michael regularly comes to church to pray and fulfill his obligations as a religious youth. That morning, Michael, who felt he was ready to marry, then prayed to God that God would bring a girl for him. Michael hopes he can meet a good girl who has a strong faith like him. However, he believes that someday, God will give the best mate for him. Michael hopes that God will give him a sign when he is reunited with his soulmate. A few days later, Michael came to town to sell the produce from his fields to the merchants. When he was trading his wares, Michael suddenly fell silent and was fascinated when he saw a very beautiful young woman walking across the street. He felt a different atmosphere when he saw her. It seemed that Michael had fallen in love with her. Then, Michael asked one of his colleagues about the young woman and if he knew her. Michael's colleague replied that the woman was a prostitute in a brothel often known as Angel. Michael could hardly believe this because he hoped that God would make him fall in love with a woman who had the same faith as him. But he still believes in all the plans God has outlined for him, so that Michael will continue to follow his heart. After that, Michael asked his friend about how he could meet Angel in person. Michael's colleague replied that Angel was a high-class prostitute because of her extraordinary beauty. So to spend one night with her, people had to pay a large amount of money. The scene changes and shows Angel's past when she was a child. Angel was born to an ordinary woman who has an illicit relationship with a noble man. Angel's biological father, from the beginning, was against Angel's mother's decision to give birth to Angel. Therefore, Angel's father hates Angel and feels very disappointed with Angel's mother. Angel realized that her father hated her and never wanted her presence. She felt herself to be a burden to her mother because, with her presence, Angel's father often scolded and beat her mother. Angel even thought that if she died, maybe her father would love her mother again. Fortunately, Angel's mother always calms Angel and stays by her side. She loves Angel very much and is willing to endure all difficulties for the sake of her beloved daughter. A few months later, Angel and her mother were kicked out of her father's house, so they had to find a new place to live. Angel's mother is trying to sell her jewelry for money and find a job, but she still doesn't succeed. Angel's mother, who did not want her child to starve and fall sick, finally had no choice but to sell herself to earn money and meet their needs. A few weeks after Angel's mother worked non-stop as a prostitute, she suddenly fell ill. She was constantly coughing and had a very high fever. Seeing this condition, Angel was always beside her mother and took care of her until one day, Angel's mother breathed her last. Seeing her mother, who had died, Angel felt very sad because she had no other family besides her mother. After that, Angel was brought by a man to a luxurious brothel to sell at a very high price. Angel lives and is cared for in a brothel until she grows into a beautiful teenager. Since Angel was a teenager, she began to be traded and auctioned off to become a high-class prostitute. One day, Angel accidentally met her father, who was visiting the brothel where she lived. The brothel pimp then asked Angel to serve her own father without knowing that they were related by blood. Angel's father did not know that the girl in front of him was his daughter because they had not seen each other for years. After spending the whole night sleeping with her father, Angel said she was her biological daughter who had been kicked out of the house. Hearing that, Angel's father seemed devastated because he had ruined his own daughter's life and made his daughter live in misery. Because of this enormous guilt, Angel's father decided to end his own life with a gunshot to his own head. After that incident, Angel decided to leave the brothel so that she would not be arrested by the authorities and accused of being the murderer of her own father, who was a noble. She then went to another city to hide and find a new place to live. Unfortunately, Angel is again entangled in prostitution because she has no job or money at all. She settled in that brothel and lived as a prostitute to this day. The scene returns to the present, where Michael comes to Angel's place and rents time for a few hours with Angel. When he arrived at Angel's room, Michael found Angel was naked and ready to serve him. Michael looked away for a moment and then said that he had hired Angel's time just to accompany him to chat. Hearing Michael's words, Angel looked surprised because he was different from ordinary customers. Angel, who thought that Michael was doubtful because he already had a wife and family, said that he did not need to be shy because she would never divulge the secrets of her customers. Michael quickly replied that he was still single and did not have a wife. He said that he had fallen in love with Angel since the first time he saw her. Angel asked Michael to leave shortly after because his time had run out. A few days later, Michael returns to the brothel to rent Angel's time. He tries to convince Angel that he can help her if she is willing to marry him. Hearing this, Angel looked annoyed and couldn't believe Michael's words because all the men she had met so far were rude men who only wanted her body. She considers Michael the same as other men who like to take advantage of women for personal pleasure. But Michael did not give up and tried to persuade Angel to get out of the brothel. The next day, Michael tells his male friend that he has fallen in love with a young woman in a brothel, but she is still not ready to accept his love. Hearing this, Michael's friend said that what he did was very stupid because he could use his money for other more valuable things. Michael's best friend feels that a good man like Michael deserves a better woman. After all, with Michael's handsome face and kind heart, many other women will be willing to be his wife. But Michael will stick with his stance and prefers to follow his heart. He has fallen in love with Angel, and he feels that she is a soulmate that has been given by his God. A few months after raising enough money, Michael returns to the brothel to meet Angel. After arriving there, Michael immediately said that he had fallen in love with Angel and he wanted her to be willing to marry him. He intends to save her and get her out of the brothel at all costs. Michael explains that he will provide for her needs so that Angel no longer needs to sell herself for money. Hearing this, Angel did not answer anything and teased Michael about being willing to sleep with her. But Michael did not intend to sleep with Angel before marrying her, because he respects her. Angel, fed up with Michael's words sounding like nonsense, finally answered by saying that an ordinary farmer like him would never be able to move her heart. Hearing this, Michael began to realize and respect Angel's decision. A few days later, Angel had a big fight with her pimp because she was fed up and wanted to quit her job as a prostitute. Seeing Angel's impudent behavior, Angel's pimp punishes Angel by ordering a man to beat her. That same night, Michael gets a feeling that Angel is in danger. So the next day, Michael immediately went to the brothel to check Angel's condition. When he arrived at Angel's room, Michael found Angel's face was battered and her condition was very weak. Seeing this, Michael felt very sad and immediately paid money to the pimp to be able to get Angel out of the brothel. He then knelt beside Angel and proposed to her to be his wife. That day, Michael saves Angel from the brothel and takes her away to live in his house. After they arrived at Michael's house, Michael immediately treated the wounds on Angel's body and treated her very well. Angel was surprised by Michael being nice to her and choosing her over other women. Michael says he loves Angel very much and wants to keep her for the rest of his life. Hearing that, Angel still couldn't believe it because she felt that a woman like her did not deserve to be the partner of a good man like him. She then asked why Michael fell in love with a prostitute like her. Michael replies that he has no reason to love Angel because he has no reason to stop loving her. A few days later, Angel finally recovered and began to be able to carry out activities as usual. She then helps Michael farm in the fields or feeds the cattle in the stables. In addition, they spent time together, cooking to fishing. All those times and opportunities made the relationship between Michael and Angel even closer. One day, in the early morning, Michael took Angel to a hill to see the sunrise together. After seeing the beautiful sight, Angel looked happy and Michael immediately hugged her. But Angel said she did not deserve to have a life as beautiful as this with Michael because she had committed many sins in her past. Hearing this, Michael said that he never demanded perfection from Angel because for him, love is about understanding, accepting, and being willing to sacrifice. A few days later, Michael's brother-in-law, Paul, came to Michael's house to visit. Paul is the husband of Michael's younger sister, who died 1 year ago. After that, Michael immediately invited Paul into his house and he introduced Angel to Paul as his wife. After seeing Angel, Paul looked surprised because he had seen her before in a brothel and he had learned that she was a prostitute. While having a private conversation with Angel, Paul constantly belittles her and says she doesn't deserve to be with Michael. Paul's words kept crossing Angel's mind and she doubted herself again. The next day, Angel tells Michael that she may not be worthy of him because she is just a prostitute. But Michael said everyone deserves a second chance and forgiveness for their sins. The next day, Angel asks Paul to drive her back to town. It turns out that she still can't accept herself to be Michael's wife and wants Michael to marry a better woman. The following day when Paul returns from town, Michael asks him about Angel's whereabouts. Paul said that now Angel had returned to the city. Hearing this, Michael immediately went to town to pick up Angel. He is willing to fight with several men to save Angel and bring her back to his house. On the way, Michael and Angel accidentally meet a family whose cordage is broken. So Michael helps them by letting them stay at his house for a while until their train is repaired. The family had a girl the same age as Michael named Miriam. And somehow, Angel keeps trying to match Michael with Miriam. According to Angel, Miriam is very kind and religious like Michael, so they deserve to be husband and wife. A few days later, Angel decides to return to the city again and leaves a message for Miriam to marry Michael. Although Angel has fallen in love with Michael, she is willing to let him go for Michael's sake. Receiving the message, Miriam immediately returned the ring left by Angel to Michael and asked him to immediately pursue Angel. But this time, Michael decides to let Angel free and tries to let her go if that's what she really wants. Time passed, but Michael still couldn't forget Angel and lived his days without enthusiasm. A few months later, Paul, walking around the middle of the city, accidentally saw Angel at a children's school. Seeing this, Paul immediately approached Angel and apologized to her because he had previously looked down on her and all his thoughts about her had been wrong. Then Paul begged Angel to come back with Michael. Hearing this, Angel said that Michael deserved to live with Miriam. Paul quickly replied that by this time, Miriam was married not to Michael but to him. Paul explained that at this time, Michael still loves Angel very much and has not been able to forget her until now. Angel looked surprised to hear all that because she did not expect Michael had such love and loyalty to her. Finally, Angel, who still loves Michael very much, decides to return to him. Angel apologizes to Michael and says that she still loves him very much. Now Angel and Michael have reunited and are starting to live their lives happily together. The moral that can be learned from this movie is, if someone as deeply religious as Michael can humanize and respect people like Angel, we should never judge others so easily just because of their past mistakes.